Content creators are so important to both paid and organic strategies. So being able to reach out to people and get them to create content basically for your brand, it saves you money in terms of doing it yourself and time, but also you get people who are professionals at creating content. Today I'm joined with Miller, our social media coordinator. Hi, Miller.
Hello.
I actually brought her in with about 2 seconds notice today, so really putting her on the spot here. But I mean, you spend a lot of your days sourcing, managing, and I guess getting really good content from people to be able to post for our clients.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd like to go through what that process looks like in terms of you've received a brief from a client, or you've given the brief for it, but how do you actually go from that to getting content that works really well and generates heaps of views that you guys have been doing for our clients?
Yeah, so essentially it definitely needs to start off with a really good brief. So the more thorough the client is, the better creators we can get. So, for example, we recently had a campaign about a fitness-focused sort of meal from one of our clients. So essentially what I had to do was find heaps of creators in the fitness industry to make content for us. So I wanted to make sure that instead of just going to any fitness creator or any foodie creator in general, I wanted to find fitness creators who talked about food already, who talked about protein and hitting all those different macros and stuff that fitness people like to talk about, so that when this was posted to their page, it wasn't strange and it resonated with their audience already. I think that a lot of ambassador programs and creators for other content that I've seen, sometimes people just send stuff to anyone when it doesn't resonate with their brand, or they send something to a creator without properly researching them first. And this creator's just been in heaps of drama or anything like that. Like, instead of just picking people who have a good following, you need to make sure that they have good engagement. They need to have a loyal following. Followers aren't everything. When it comes to creators, you need to have people who post content to an audience that actually listens to them. Otherwise, you're just throwing money at an empty audience.
So basically you've identified who it is the ideal person because it resonates with the brand. They're not just got a bunch of followers who don't give a shit about their content, and it's very relevant to the content they post is very relevant to, I guess, the outcome of what your brand is looking for, right? So then how do you actually get them to pay attention and to actually engage with you? Because I'm sure anyone who's actually good at this stuff probably gets inundated with requests and all this kind of stuff. So how are you actually getting noticed, or how are you even finding these people in the first place?
Yeah, so we do a bit of manual research. It is really time consuming, but I do think it's important when you're trying to find people that resonate with your brand. So essentially going onto TikTok, Instagram, even YouTube sometimes, and just searching in keywords that resonate with the brand and the brief. And then from there, you want to reach out to them in a personal way that makes them feel like you actually care about the content they create, rather than just pitching them something because you want them to do something for you. So for example, talking about a certain style of content that they make or what they do for their day job, anything that relates to them and makes them feel like this was a personal reach out and you're only reaching out to them rather than a copy and pasted message, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I get requests for doing content for people, which makes no sense because I've got no following and I don't do any of this stuff on these platforms. And you can tell it's just a cut and paste blasted message to everybody. And I imagine that people who actually are good at this are getting 10 times, 100 times this kind of stuff. So saying something that actually gets noticed in the inbox is really important.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've worked with brands on the side as well before, and I find the ones that I want to work with are the brands that are like, I see you've recently done traveling here and here. Do you want to do this for our travel focused brand? And it's like, yes, I'd love to, because you obviously like my content and interact with me. So of course you'd want to work with a brand that actually knows you.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so you've reached out to them, speaking to them now. What's the next step? How do you actually get them to start creating the content? Is it paid? Is it unpaid? How do you, I guess, get the outcome that you're looking for in terms of deliverables?
Yeah, so we do have paid and gifted programs with our clients. So for paid, it's a lot easier because you're offering them money, so people are more inclined to do it. We send out the first reach out email, and then we typically ask in that email if they can give us their rates for the deliverables that we've set. And then from there, we will send them back a brief for the content that we want so that they can see if everything does align with them. And if it does, we book them in. And then in the brief, it has timelines with when they are coming in, if it's a visit or if the product's getting sent to them. And then from that visit date or product delivery date, they have a 2-week turnaround to give us the content back. We have 2 revisions with the client. So the revisions just make sure that our client is happy with what content they're making. And we also get them to run through what content they're going to be making for us, just to make sure they're not wasting their time if we're not going to be happy with it in the end.
So basically you're giving them an overview of as to what you're wanting, and then you're giving them a brief, and then they're giving it back to you. Client reviews it, and then they're given a couple of rounds of revisions to make sure the end result's what the client's after, but also you're happy with it, right?
Exactly.
Got it?
That's what I was
cool.
trying
That's
to
how
say.
you're trying to say it? Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So now you've got that contracts. What happens there? Like, do you need a contract? Do you need people to be actually held to what they're going to do? Like, do you find sometimes you send them some money, or like, are they paid at the end after they're delivered, or what's the process in terms of getting what you want out of it?
Yes, I think contracts are really important, even if it's gifted or not, because you can kind of get scammed for your money here, and it goes both ways from a creator's perspective as well. In the contracts, we basically outline if you can work with other brands or not within a certain time period. It talks about the rates, because a lot of people can say that you set a certain amount here. It's always safer to have a contract, I think.
What about use cases like ads and stuff? Like, you want to specify you can use them in ads, and if so, how long?
Yeah.
Is also going to be something. Like, I know I've worked with modelling agencies in the past, and the output that we've received from model agencies, we can only use for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're either going to have to pay for further licensing, or you have to pay, additional fees. So
yeah, so that's definitely something to look out for. From more so a creator's perspective, is when the contracts, like reading through your contracts, is really important, because brands can kind of put in their contract whatever they like, and if you're not going to look through it properly, that's when you can get bit in the bum a little bit. But yeah, from a brand's perspective, putting in everything that you want from your with your content. So as you just said, usage rights, because that's a really big thing. A lot of creators charge a lot for usage rights. So typically they only like you to use them on organic content, but if you've put in your contract that you can use it for usage for, like, say 3 months or so.
yeah, I mean, I think you want it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if we're running a campaign and the purpose was for an ad campaign, you probably don't want them to be able to use that ad forever.
Yeah.
So I think having a guide around, yep, you can use this within an ad campaign for 3 months makes sense.
Yeah. Like, there's been times I haven't looked through my own personal contracts outside of work, and I still see my face pop up, and I'm like, oh, that was
That'd be
a
weird.
year and a half ago. Like, how are they still using that?
Yeah.
So it's definitely important to read through contracts, and good to have one as well.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we've talked about, I guess, the process of it all. So now we've got the content post. Why do you think brands should be doing this? Like, we get a lot, especially more recently, we're getting a lot of brands coming to us and saying, hey, look, we want to start engaging more ambassadors and creators. And it's not influencers they're looking for. Like, they're not looking for known names. They're not looking for any of this. They're just looking for specific people within their niche who's going to be able to amplify the content to more of a micro audience, as opposed to sort of mass big audience people here.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a lot of people are saying at the moment that influencer marketing is dead, and I don't think it's dead. I think that people need to stop sending stuff to the biggest influencers, because they get sent hundreds of things a week that they post about, and people are just tapping through their stuff and not really caring. I think where the good content lies is with micro influencers who have audiences that actually really care about what they have to say. They feel like they're friends with them because they're on a more relatable level. They're not up here with millions of followers where it's kind of out of touch at a point. I think that brands really need to redirect their strategy to hitting micro influencers who have really niche audiences, but also really engaged audiences and people that care about their stuff. Because I feel like I interact with people who have, like, say, there's this one girl I love on TikTok, she's got 7,000 followers. Like, that's not a lot in the influencer marketing world, but I will buy anything she says because I trust her and I think she's a really cool person.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like, followers isn't everything. It's engaged audiences that people really need to hone in on.
I think anyone who's exploring the idea of using, I guess, content creators or ambassadors for their brand is definitely a avenue that you should be taking notice of, because we're seeing some great results for our clients for it. Thanks again for watching, and thank you, Camilla, for joining me today.
Thank you.